Okay, let's see here. This is an MT755E. /7 to 800E. Let's go over here to that. So it's going to be a SysU engine. Enabled PTO hitch and implement valves can be controlled by the implement. Okay. What do we got going on here? I'm hooked up to CAT protocol with the CAT cable here. Alright, we're gonna get communication here. What are we gonna do here? Okay, high coolant temperature, AdBlue DEF tank. Alright, so the code that he was getting, let me see here. Fuel supply pump inlet pressure, fuel supply pump inlet pressure sensor, but the code that he said they were having problems with, let's go over here and look at this. Okay, that was really strange. Okay, press confirm. So you're not going to give me an actual code number? Okay. Huh. Alright, that's pretty stupid. So I wonder if they want you to just do key on engine off or some bullshit. I don't know. AdBlue DEF tank. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Yeah. Here's where here's where the Texa unit, not too big of a fan sometimes. Works great on the John Deere stuff, but on some of this other stuff, like these Challengers and Case International, it doesn't work for shit. And I'm a dealer for them. I'm just going to be honest with you. It works really good on the Cummins stuff. So the code he sent me a picture of, if I can get my phone to wake up, is an SPN 3031 FMI14, occurrence OC1. So DEF temperature. AdBlue DEF consumption counter. See, injection quantity reduction off. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Injection quantity reduction on. Exhaust temperature. Okay, Deere due to echo sluicing valve, DEF tank level. What do you mean it's off? Derating due to fuel temperature. Obviously, what is the coolant temperature at on this thing right now? Well, the engine's cold. It must have been parked for a while. See, it's at 1.3 psi, so it's not, pump's not on right now. there's the AdBlue tank temperature. Not ready, result okay, waiting. So let's get over here to back way down here. Get the engine warmed up to where the DEF system will start activating. Well, guys, so the code is I looked up, and on my Texas unit I went into this activations, and it told me in the activations there's a system, there's an emission systems log, and where it logs all the fault codes and it gives you the definitions. And that 3031 FMI14 is DEF tank defrost time exceeded. So I found a book online, a service manual. I downloaded it. They haven't sent me the link yet. And I told the operator, the head operator, and I told him, I said, man, I think the tank heater is no good, because every time I try to activate the tank heater with my Texas unit, it says it failed. And right now, it's hard to really, it's warm enough now today. It froze this morning. I think what happened is it was trying to turn the heater on, and it wasn't getting the tank unthawed because the temperature wasn't coming up in the tank. And so anyway, you ain't gonna believe this shit. Well, you probably would. This looks like the DEF sending unit right here. Here's the DEF tank underneath the fucking cab. Okay, so here's the coolant lines going to it, obviously. But you know, the tank heater's obviously going to be probably part of that sending unit, and there's no way in hell you're getting that out of there without pulling the cab off. Can you believe that shit? Okay, well, when I get the book, I told these guys, as soon as I get the book and I know the testing procedure and what to test, because we got to make 1,000% sure that that's what the issue is before we go there. And then we'll have to, if that tank heater is bad, we'll have to pull the cab off to get it out. Well, guys, we came back the next morning with a service manual. I looked up the code. I finally got the guy to send me the right download link for it, and I got it downloaded. And their troubleshooting on this code is really generic. So they tell you to check the coolant supply to the module, and I did notice yesterday, back kind of behind the block there on the engine, there was water dripping out of a valve, and I'm wondering if it's just low on coolant. It tells you to check the coolant supply, and if the coolant supply is all fine and it keeps, and you clear the code, and then you go to the next drive cycle, and then it does it again, then it tells you to replace the the heat valve. And I think that's part of the sending unit and everything down in the tank, I believe. Let me get Huey and Dewey out of here. Are you done stretching? So, do the obvious kind of stuff here, I guess. Check the simple shit, coolant. The open doors on this thing. here. I can see wet spot right back here. See the water leaking down here on the back of this valve. And it's kind of partially turned off, but this leaking, see it's wet all down the bell housing here. That valve is not any good. Where's the puke tank at on this thing? Got to see where the puke tank is. Right up there. And see, there was some codes in there too for the thing overheating. Is there a sight glass or anything on that thing? Where you can tell what your water level is? Oh, look at that. There's a sight glass right there in that puke tank, and there ain't no water in it. I bet that's all that's the matter with this thing, is that valve is leaking down there, and it's just low on coolant. What do you want to bet? So, I wonder, before I even do that, yeah, I bet more than likely, yep, there's a sight glass right there in the back of that coolant overflow tank, and there's absolutely nothing in the sight glass, and the valve is leaking down there on the bottom, so more than likely that is probably the issue. It's just low on water. And it can't circulate the water back through the center back there. I mean, that thing's leaking. And it's leaking through the stem of the valve where it's operated, so yeah. And it looks like almost like that's actually the hose that's going to that back there anyway. I need to, so I'm going to plug into it just real quick and just see if that module turns on. I think maybe this might be a fairly easy fix. Just, you know, they'll probably just run it for now since they're planting, and they'll change the valve, but I think it's going to be relatively simple. Because there was, when I plugged into it yesterday, there was some codes in there also for engine overheating. So that would tell me, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together here, that with common sense, obviously there's probably no water in it, or very little. But I don't have any of that red coolant with me right now. I know they do, so I'll have to get them to go up there and get it. Before I put that wonderful floor mat back in there, I'll probably make damn sure and run it around, drive it around, make sure it doesn't do it again. But I want to just check heater activation, make sure, you know, I don't know if the low coolant level, is that going to burn the heating element up in it? I am not sure what or not, but yeah, to change one of these sending units, I looked it up in that book, you have to pull the cab off, which you don't really on these. The cabs are really easy to get off. They're not bad at all, really. Oh, I left the kind of need the data link connector, you know what? Get this, you know, actually, I'm gonna wait for this thing to boot up. Oh man, it's so nice that the weather's finally starting to change. It's been a long winter, you know what? It's been a long one. These guys here bought all these John Deeres, and then they didn't like them, and now they're starting to go back to Fendt and Challenger. They said they like these better. C for Challenger. Yeah, I pressed it. Yeah, come on. Let's go over here. This has got the Sisu engine in it. I guess I probably should turn the key on, huh? That might be a halfway decent idea. Got a wait to start light there. Over here to the live data. Coolant temperature is 30 degrees. Now let's go over here to the I went too far. So the AdBlue tank heating status says it's off. Okay, AdBlue tank heating stat request on. So it's coming on. Okay, that's really all I wanted to know for now. I wanted to know if it was being commanded on. That's what I wanted to know. So what I want to do next is get the proper amount of coolant in this thing and then get the laptop hooked up to it and run it. Well, this thing has got a heating valve right here. This valve. And that preheats the water before it goes into the DEF tank, and that heating valve is not it's not operating correctly. I think it's probably gonna wind up being more like I think the problem is that they ran it low on water, and what happened is just like a heating element in a water tank heater, it probably burnt the element up in it. So it's just not, it activates it and everything through the live data, but you can tell the temperature doesn't increase. But as you rev it up and get coolant temperature hotter, the tank temperature starts coming up gradually. So if with no load on there, you know, just pulling a planter idling along, it probably doesn't get the coolant hot enough, fast enough, with no load on it to get the DEF tank temperature rise in the time in which the ECM wants to see it. But if you put full throttle to it and get the coolant temperature raised up real fast with engine load, then of course it's fine. So I'm going to order one of these heating valves, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, well, we're back over at this place. Now we're going to look at the 4840. I guess burnt the wires up on the starter or something, and I don't know. Let's see what's going on with that. Okay, Huey and Dewey probably won out here. Oh, big man, big man. Okay, well, it obviously looks like it got really, really hot. Yeah, man, it melted that. That's not going to come undone, is it? Never fails. The wind is always blowing here lately. That should pop up and come off of here. going on here. This is the one I fixed. I see they got a jack underneath it for some reason. What's going on there? Oh, that was that one tire I think was bald, and that's right. That one tire was bald, and he wanted to put a new tire on. So he must have taken that off. I thought, man, there was something wrong with something I did there. 4840, man, these are good old girls right here. Good old girls. Okay, pull the grounds loose. I send in my link from my manual here pretty soon. I'd like to diagnose that correctly and see what I'm getting into there on that Challenger. Did they swap this one to 212s? I think so. Yeah. Put the starter out of it. Oh, I can't get this. There she is. But I gotta get it to where it's not touching that post. How about if I go over here somewhere, maybe? There we go. Like that right there, huh? Alright, so we go back to the ground off. These are running parallel, so you got 12 volts and 950 cold cranking amps, so that means you got 950 cold cranking amps times 2. That'd be 1900 cold cranking amps. Is that right? Yeah. 998. Yeah. Sometimes my math skills aren't very good. I'm gonna put this thing down here somewhere. How about let's stay there. There, what size do we got here? 9/16 or something? Yeah, the nursery I worked for years, we had 2 of these, and I mean, God, those things must have had. They finally retired them, took them in an auction. I mean, how many times we rebuilt the transmission and the engines in them? I mean, they must have had 30,000 hours on them. Seriously. Not kidding. Well, that's pretty good. That's just turning round and round. So, I wonder. That is probably the reason why it failed right there, because somebody stripped that out, and that was loose on there. That'll cause lots of problems right there. I think I'm getting it though. I think, well, not really. Wedge it and get it to grab a thread and come off there, maybe. Man, I'm getting it, but it's painful. He said it needed a new cable. I don't think it does. I think it'll be fine. Just clean that end up and put it back together. Definitely, it smoked the solenoid on top of the starter. The guy could probably get away with just putting a solenoid on it and going again, but I guess he already went and ordered another starter from Deere over there, so. Yeah, all the threads are stripped off this thing. Pretty much no threads left on that stud. Boy, sure got that sucker good, didn't it? Now I'll have to get a new end put on it. But that is definitely what caused everything, was that loose, you know, that stripped out terminal. Somebody stripped that, putting it on there. Yep. I'm sure that's got to be a 9/16 right there. And I think there's one back up in here somewhere. Yeah. Good times, good times. Pull the signal wire off of it, which is back in here somewhere, if you can find it. Put the camera, I don't even know where to go with. I can get on this one bolt down here, pull the battery out of it. I don't know. Still don't think I'm gonna be able to get on some bitch down here. Remembered why I hated changing starters on these things now. Just, I mean, they recessed that thing back in the, you know, this little pocket where you can't even get anything on the son of a bitch to get it off. It's just stupid, man. These engineers, man, I'm telling you, these guys are so dumb. They really are. They're just dumber than shit. Everything they do is just like this. I mean, every single fucking thing they do is like this. You just can't make this shit up. Okay, there's a 3/4 down here. The other one. Better go pull that other positive post off there because it's still the battery. So as soon as that thing touches some metal there, that ain't gonna be too good. So I ought to take this one off. I gotta tell you a story about a guy. This will get you laughing. And you won't believe it, for one thing. Well, a couple of stories about this guy. This guy is... He's so dumb, Joe Biden noticed. I mean, that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when you're so dumb that Joe Biden noticed that you're dumb. Anyway, he was working for this nursery driving tractors for him. I went to high school with this guy. And he was running a 4455 with a Howard rototiller on the back. And he calls me and he says, "Hey, how do you get the RPMs turned down on this tractor? The idle turned down on it." I said, well, there's an idle screw on the pump. Why? Well, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up, guys, okay? You can trust me. He says, well, I'm running this rototiller and it says it's supposed to be at 540 RPM. And I thought he was screwing with me. I really did. I thought, wow, people can't be that stupid. No, he wanted me to come over there and turn the idle down to 540. I said, so you're lugging that tractor with the rototiller trying to run it? Anyway, yeah, the guy was, I tried to explain it to him how it worked. I said, that's the output of the RPM. That's the gear reduction by the time you get back there to the shaft is 540 RPM, moron. Another time, he was working for another outfit. He calls me and he says, hey, can you come over here? And he was pulling an implement of some kind. With a 7820 John Deere. And he says this John Deere tractor is using hydraulic fluid. I said, what do you mean it's using hydraulic fluid? He said, it's using it. I said, well, they don't use them, they leak them. It's leaking somewhere. Anyway, I went over there to look at it. Got to looking at this thing, and I asked him, I said, so, what were you pulling with it last? Oh, that big scraper over there, and they had big old universal scraper over there. I went over there and looked at it, and the rod seal on the ram that lifts the scraper up down was just, everything on it was soaking wet. And I says, I bet you that's where your oil was going, right there, huh? Did it stop using it when you hooked onto this implement? He goes, oh yeah, it did. I'm not making this shit up, man. Like I said, he's so dumb that Joe Biden noticed. Okay, what else is holding this damn thing on there? Okay, all that to get on a damn bolt. There we go. Now I can get on it. Alright guys, I almost got this thing. I had to take a chisel and I had to hit it on the flats right in through here to get it loose. I couldn't get a bite on it with a wrench. So I got it loose. Now I can spin it off by hand. The pinion looks okay, and the ring here looks okay on it. Alright, well, Well, I'm gonna get a new 3/8 nut because I got some chisel marks on that one. Jeez, I couldn't get it loose. We got her though. Anyway, let's make sure the cables are not going to be touching somewhere to where we can burn the hay barn down and everything else. So we'll leave that rag right there, and I might actually wonder if I should just get some electrical tape or something and wrap around that positive there, or can I pull it on back? Pull it on back. Hang on a minute. Just pull it back over there like that. That way that's gonna jump up out of that hole and hit anything now. So, all right. That starter don't look that old either. All right, well, I guess I'll see what we got for a downhole leak, hopefully. Okay, all right. Need to find a new nut here. Okay, I gotta tighten that up. There. Spread it out a bit. So let me rub it on there. Alright. Okay. I gotta tighten up. Well, I guess just gotta put the battery box cover on the other side and we're done.